Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to explore a quiet and bittersweet story about two people who were more than friends, but never truly became lovers. If you enjoy learning English through emotional and relatable stories, stay with me until the end. Part 1. Not just friends, but never us. Some relationships are hard to explain. They do not feel like normal friendship, but they also do not become real love. Two people talk every day, care deeply, and slowly become very important to each other. They know each other's habits, moods, and silence. They wait for each other's messages. They feel happy when the other person appears. And when the other person becomes distant, the heart feels it immediately. From the outside, it may look simple. People may say, "You are just good friends." But inside the relationship, it does not feel simple at all. There is too much care, too much closeness, and too much meaning. It is more than friendship, but still not something they can clearly name. That is what makes this kind of relationship so confusing. You cannot call it love, but it affects your heart like love. You cannot ask for too much because there is no promise between you. At the same time, you cannot pretend it means nothing because it clearly means a lot. This kind of connection often lives in small moments. A long conversation at night. A simple message that changes your mood. A quiet feeling of missing someone even when you have no right to say it loudly. You may tell yourself that it is only friendship, but deep inside you know it is not that easy. And maybe that is the real pain. When someone matters too much to be just a friend, but never becomes yours in a real way. The heart enters a strange middle place. It feels warm, beautiful, and painful at the same time. That is the story we are talking about today. A connection that was never fully love, but never truly friendship either. Part 2, it started like something small. At the beginning, it did not look like a love story. It looked simple, easy, and harmless. Maybe they were only classmates, co-workers, or online friends. They started talking because something felt comfortable between them. The conversation was natural and there was no pressure. One message became many messages. One short talk became long nights of sharing thoughts, jokes, and small details about daily life. That is how this kind of relationship often begins. It does not arrive like a big romantic moment. It grows slowly in quiet ways. They learn each other's habits. They know when the other person is tired, stressed, or not okay. They remember little things that most people forget. After some time, talking to each other becomes part of the day. It feels normal, but it also feels special. The strange part is that nothing dramatic happens at first. There is no clear moment when friendship suddenly becomes something more. Instead, the connection becomes deeper little by little. They begin to trust each other more. They share things they do not tell everyone. They start waiting for each other without saying it openly. When something good happens, they want to tell that person first. When something hurts, that person is the one they look for. This is why the relationship becomes difficult to explain. From the outside, it may still look like friendship. But inside, it feels different. There is more care, more attention, and more emotional closeness than normal friendship usually holds. And maybe that is why it becomes dangerous for the heart. What began as something small and simple slowly becomes something important. Before they fully understand it, they are already part of each other's life in a way that feels deeper than friendship, even if neither of them says it clearly. Part 3, the middle space, too close for friendship. After some time, the relationship enters a strange middle space. It is no longer simple friendship, but it is still not love in a clear way. This is often the most confusing part because both people feel that something is different, yet neither of them says it openly. They begin to care in ways that normal friends usually do not. One message can change the mood of the whole day. A late reply can create quiet worry. A different tone can be noticed immediately. They may not say, "Oh, I miss you," too often, but they feel it. They may not ask for attention directly, but they still hope for it. This is where the heart starts to get involved more deeply. There may be jealousy, but no right to show it. There may be sadness, but no clear reason to explain it. One person may wonder, why do I care this much? While the other person may feel the same thing and still stay silent. That is what makes this kind of connection so difficult. It gives the warmth of closeness, but not the safety of clarity. You feel special, but not secure. You feel seen, but not chosen. You become important to each other, but the relationship still has no real name. In this middle space, both people often continue as if nothing is happening. They keep talking, laughing, and caring while quietly pretending that everything is still simple. But the truth is not simple anymore. The emotions have already grown beyond friendship, even if the relationship has not. And maybe that is the deepest tension of all. When two people are too close to be just friends, but still too afraid, too unsure, or too unready to become something more, the heart begins to carry feelings it cannot fully express. Part 4. Why they never became lovers. The hardest part is that many relationships like this do not stay in the middle by accident. There is usually a reason why they never become real love. Sometimes the feeling is there, but something else is stronger. It may be fear, uncertainty, bad timing, or the comfort of staying in a place that feels safe but incomplete. One common reason is fear. A person may feel something real, but they are afraid to say it. They worry that if they speak honestly, everything may change. They may lose the closeness they already have. They may ruin the friendship. So instead of taking one step forward, they stay quiet and hope the other person will somehow understand. Sometimes both people feel something, but neither is brave enough to speak first. They wait, they guess, and they continue in the same half-clear relationship. The connection stays warm, but it never moves forward. In other cases, one person wants more while the other enjoys the closeness but is not ready for commitment. That can create a very painful imbalance because both people stay emotionally close, but they are not standing in the same place. Timing can also play a big part. One person may still be healing. One may be busy building a future. One may not be ready for love, even if the connection feels special. And sometimes the middle feels easier than the truth. It gives comfort without pressure, closeness without responsibility, and affection without a clear promise. That is why they never become lovers. It is not always because the feelings are weak. Sometimes the feelings are real, but life, fear, and silence stand in the way. And in the end, what could have become love remains unfinished because no one fully chose it. Part 5. The pain of almost love. When this kind of relationship starts to fade, the pain can feel much bigger than people expect. From the outside, it may not look serious because there was never a clear relationship. There was no official beginning, so there is no official ending either. But the heart does not always care about labels. If the feelings were real, the loss feels real too. That is what makes almost love so painful. You cannot easily explain why you are hurt. You cannot simply say, well, we broke up, because maybe you were never truly together. Still, something important is leaving your life. The messages become shorter, the care becomes weaker, and the closeness slowly disappears. One day you notice that things no longer feel the same, and that quiet change can hurt more than a loud goodbye. There is also a strange helplessness in this kind of pain. Because the relationship had no clear name, you may feel that you have no right to ask for more, no right to complain, and no right to act heartbroken. But inside, the sadness is still there. You miss the person, the attention, the habit of being important to each other, and the feeling that something special existed between you. This is why almost love can stay in the heart for a long time. It leaves behind confusion, silence, and too many questions. You keep wondering what it really was, what it could have become, and why it never became more. And maybe that is the hardest part of all. Everything felt close to love, but never close enough to stay. Part 6. Why this kind of relationship is so hard to forget. This kind of relationship is hard to forget because it never feels fully finished. When something ends clearly, the heart can slowly accept it. But when a connection stays in the middle without a real beginning or a real ending, the mind keeps returning to it. It keeps asking quiet questions that have no easy answer. One of the biggest reasons is the feeling of, well, what if? What if one person had spoken more honestly? What if the timing had been better? What if both people had been brave enough to stop hiding behind friendship? These questions stay in the heart because the story never became complete. It remained open, and open stories often last longer than closed ones. This kind of pain is not only about losing someone, it is also about losing a possibility. The heart is not just grieving what happened. It is grieving what could have happened. Maybe they could have become something beautiful. Maybe they were only one step away from real love. Because that step was never taken, the connection keeps its mystery. And mystery is difficult to let go of. Another reason it stays so long is that the feelings were real, even if the relationship was unclear. The closeness mattered, the care mattered, the little moments mattered. So even if the world did not see it as a love story, the heart may still remember it that way. That is why people like this stay in the memory for so long. They are not only remembered because of what they were, they are remembered because of what they almost became. And sometimes almost love stays in the heart longer than love that fully happened, because the soul never got a final answer. Part 7. They were never fully yours, but they still mattered. Maybe that is the truth about some relationships. They never fully become ours, but they still leave a deep mark on the heart. Not every important connection turns into love, and not every love story gets a clear name. Still, that does not make it small, foolish, or unreal. If someone changed the way you felt, the way you waited, the way you hoped, then they mattered. That is why this kind of story is so difficult to forget. It was not just friendship, because the feelings were too deep for that. But it was not fully love either, because the relationship never found the courage, timing, or clarity to become something real. It stayed in the middle, and that middle place can be one of the most beautiful and painful places the heart ever knows. Maybe some people do not come into our life to stay forever. Maybe they come to show us a part of ourselves we had not seen before. They teach us how deeply we can care, how quietly we can miss someone, and how much a connection can mean even without a promise. So if you have ever had someone who was more than a friend but less than a lover, your feelings were real. Your sadness was real too. You did not imagine the closeness, and you were not weak for feeling hurt. Some losses do not need a title to be painful. In the end, maybe that is why they remain in the heart. They were never fully yours, but they still became part of your story. And sometimes the people who are hardest to explain are also the ones who are hardest to forget.